Hello and welcome to the Road Trip Sports Podcast. My name is Harrison Crook and I'm joined once again by my co-host, Oliver Gilmour. Ollie, how you doing?
I'm good, Harrison. We're talking about the greatest city in America. I guess self-proclaimed anyway, Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah, we're talking B-Town today. We're going to talk about all things Orioles baseball and Ravens football, about my trip to the city 11 years ago.
Wow.
I didn't realise just literally right now how long it's been. It was 11 years ago that I went, but we're going to talk all about that. We're going to talk some of the current sports events. Buddy's 1000th goal game you were at on the weekend. An incredible moment for sports. We're also going to do a bit of a trivia segment, which I hope you all enjoy. And as usual, we're going to hit our mailbags. Now, if you do enjoy the podcast, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Road Trip Sports Pod. We're also on YouTube, Road Trip Sports Podcast. And any inquiries you've got, if you'd like to get in touch, you'd like to share your own experiences going out and watching sports or sports-related activities in cities, you can send those through to us. Road Trip Sports Podcast at gmail.com is where you can find us for those inquiries. We'd love to get lots of interactions with you. We'd love to get you to share the podcast. We really see a spike when people do share the podcast in our listenership, so it's been great for us. Love to get all of your feedback as well.
Yeah, and don't forget to comment, but most importantly, don't forget to review. I'm pretty sure the other buttons are broken, so just hit the five star button and then we're sweet.
They sure are. That's the only button you'll need. Usually we'd get straight into the city we're going to talk about, but we've got something more pressing to talk about. It was a moment in sports history. Friday night, SCG. Buddy Franklin was 4 goals away from kicking his 1000th goal. And I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it right now. I wasn't even there.
Yep.
Gets 3 goals in the first 3 quarters. Everyone's going off their head. Finally takes a mark inside 50. And the crowd is on their feet. They're already climbing over the fence. I saw kids sitting on the fence. People were already on the field. They were running in as Buddy was running in to kick that goal. It would have been hilarious if he missed, but he didn't. He kicked the goal, and you were on the field straight after. Can you tell me all about that experience? Because on TV, it looked like the most unreal thing I've seen on a sports field. Yeah,
look, I mean, we haven't seen it many times. It's a pretty big accomplishment. It's only happened 6 times, as you mentioned before. But that said, we sat down. I tried to get as close within reason. I like to watch the game a little bit back. You don't like to watch it on the fence. But I tried to get as close as possible, so maybe 4 or 5 rows back. And then he sort of kicked that 3rd goal, and I mentioned to my partner, I said, look, we're going to have to start going down to that fence because everyone's going to start coming. And she said, oh, look, I'll stay here. And I said, look, well, I'm going to go because I don't want to miss out on this. Like, everyone's going to storm past, and I don't think I'm going to get on there. Like, I didn't know how the security would work, whether they'd sort of deter everyone. But
they
nonetheless,
ended up just not working.
I still waited till the ball went through the goals because I didn't want to be embarrassed if he kicked the goal and I'm already on the field and have to jump back over. But jumped over, ran in the middle. I got pretty close to Buddy. There was just that big of a pack of people. You sort of couldn't really tell how close you actually were.
Yeah, gotcha.
But yeah, really crazy experience. I don't think to be a part of it was huge, but I don't think we'll ever see it again in general.
Yeah, so talking about the history of it, it's something that happens when a player kicks their 1000th goal or 100 goals in a season, and also when Tony Lockett broke the record for most goals ever when he kicked his, it was 1,300th goal. It's hard to do. It's something that doesn't happen often, and with the way that modern football has gone, it's likely not going to happen again.
Yeah.
With all the changes, the zone structure of defenses now has made it a lot harder for players to get open and find open space. For someone to do it consistently for as long as he started in 2005, I think it's just been incredible to watch his run as a Sydney Swans fan as well, to watch his run being in Sydney and to finally culminate on that night. I think it's just as big as a premiership as a moment for a fan.
Yeah, and even individually, I think it's a really, really big moment. And as you mentioned, we've mentioned a couple of times now, only 6 people have done it. So that's just huge. And whether it'll happen again, I think as you mentioned there, that zone defense, and we don't see as many one-on-ones. So we know the game's constantly evolving and there's new rules coming in, but we might see, we never know because who knows with the sport, it's consistently evolving, but we might see 16 on 16 and more one-on-ones in the future. But for right now and at the current state of the game, I think it'll never happen again.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Now, one of the things, the big talking point post the event and after all the hype and spectacle around it is the security or lack thereof.
Yeah.
Now, there was lots of things coming out where people were like, are they going to let people on the field? Gil McLaughlin sort of, like, tongue-in-cheek sort of hinted that, go on.
Of course,
go on, have a run. But they had, I was reading today an article about it, and they had all these targets that they were supposed to hit.
Right.
I don't know that they hit very many of it at all. They were supposed to get around Buddy before the fan circle to just give him some space. No. They were supposed to retrieve the ball that was kicked.
Yep.
They didn't do that. They were supposed to get the players of Sydney and Geelong off the field safely while the crowd sort of circled Buddy. They didn't do that. What did they achieve?
Look, mate, I think it's hard. I don't want to be too critical of the security at the same time. I mean, I think it's inevitable. It was always going to happen that way. I think I honestly don't know what they could have done different. Like, people were on the field before it even taken that kick. So it's like, how does security get in front of all of those people? How do they stop everyone? I think the thing was, once they're over the fence, get back over. But then it's a strength in numbers thing. How many people are you going to get? How many people are you going to send back over the fence? You know, like.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. But also, don't set those as your goals if you know that you're going to fail.
Of course.
If you know that people are over the fence, maybe just make that announcement at the field and go, look, we know you're going to, accept that they're going to run over.
Yeah.
Make it known that, okay, we know you're going over. Here's a few ground rules first. Don't jump the fence before he's kicked the goal, or at least kick the ball. There were people running in as Buddy was running in.
Yeah.
Don't jump the fence until he's kicked the ball through the goals. Then everyone, I think if they let people on, they say, we are going to let you on the field.
Okay.
But you've got to follow these rules. I think you might have done it because probably people thought we need these strength in numbers because they might not let us on the field.
Yeah, and I think it's fun to speak and think about hypotheticals now, but I don't think we're going to see it again. So at this point in time, I don't think we should dwell on the process so much.
Yeah,
I think it's happened. Let's move on. It was a really cool moment. And if you weren't there, you're probably salty you weren't there. And you're probably one of those ones that go, oh, yeah, no.
Oh, I wish I was
hate
there.
it. But,
I wish I was there.
Look, I think for those that didn't go, 4 goals in a game is a tough task for anyone. We know our Buddy averages around 3 goals a game. But even still, to kick 4, it was up in the air. Would he rest against the Western Bulldogs the next week? But overall, really cool moment and forever entrenched in AFL history. For sure.
A great moment. Now that's it for our Buddy Chat. Let's get straight into our trivia segment. So we're going to pass this back and forth. We've got 5 questions each. And we're going to let you guys play at home a little bit as well. So if you think you can answer the questions, it'll be out of 10 for you guys. In the comments, let us know how many you get correct. There's a bit of AFL, a bit of NRL, there's a bit of NFL, a bit of basketball in this. Let's see how you go with them. But, Ollie, would you like to kick us off with your first question?
Yep, so pretty easy one for Harrison and everyone listening. What 2 colours of footballs do the AFL use?
Definitely pink and aqua.
They have used pink before.
They have used pink before. It is obviously red and yellow.
Good stuff.
1-0. I'll take it.
You're keeping score now.
I'm definitely keeping score in this one. All right, my question to you. What year did the Sonics move to Oklahoma City to become the Thunder?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm going to say 2000... 2011.
Ooh. It was 2008.
Okay.
So they drafted Durant in 2007 and then moved the year after.
Oh, that's right, yep.
All right. So it's 1-0. Your next question.
My next question is, what player scored 100 points in an NBA game?
It was Wilt Chamberlain.
that it was.
Sorry, that was a quick answer for those of you playing at home.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Harrison.
All right, my next question. It's a question about the podcast.
Right.
What is the order of the cities we've been to so far on the podcast?
You want me to name every single one?
I mean, we've had 8 episodes, so it's not a big task.
That would be Green Bay.
Yep.
Then it was Miami.
Yep.
Then it was... what was after that? Sydney.
Yep.
Then it was another... I'm trying to think of the city. Something, and then Melbourne.
There was something in the middle.
I don't even know how I'm forgetting these. Oh, God. I'm going to have to think.
I'll give you a hand. Think of our icons.
Yeah, that's probably a bit easier. Oh, we did San Fran. That's right. San Fran.
Yep.
Then Melbourne.
Yep.
Then the 2 LAs.
Yep.
And then Baltimore today.
Oh
no, sorry.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh,
What did we do last week? Christ, I'm struggling here. What did we do last week? Oh, Barcelona, that's right. Yeah.
Yep. All right, you got that one. 2-1.
Righto, sweet.
What's your next question?
Next question is, what year did the North Queensland Cowboys enter the comp? And this is a multiple choice question. So 1996, 1995, 1997, or 1998?
NRL is not my strong point. As a teacher, I do lots of multiple choice questions. I write them and have done them in my past. My usual tactic is, if you don't have an idea and it's a year question, cut the top and the bottom one and have a guess from the middle. I'm going to say 96.
It is 95.
Oh!
Close.
All right, so it's still 2-1, and I think you've got a pretty good chance here. Who passed the ball to Buddy Franklin when he kicked his 1,000th goal?
Chad Warner.
Very nice.
Oh, sorry, I probably answered that a bit too quick as well.
I think we've got to learn how to do this one better
to
get our fans in there. But it's your question now. Question 4.
Question 4 is, which team signed ex-Jaguar Miles Jack?
I've got it. And he's going to be playing under Brian Flores in Pittsburgh.
That's right. Yep.
All right.
Correct.
So it's 3-2. Fourth question. Which of these is not a name of the Miami Dolphins stadium? A. Landshark Stadium. B. Dolphin Stadium. C. Dolphins Stadium. D. City of Miami Stadium. Or E. New Miami Stadium.
Ooh.
Just to give a context for people out there, the
Okay.
Dolphins have had 9 stadium names since the stadium was introduced in 87.
I'm tossing up between the last two. What were those again?
City of Miami Stadium and New Miami Stadium.
Right. Jeez, I'm tossing up between these two. I'm gonna go with the last one.
New Miami Stadium
Yep,
is incorrect.
it was the other one, wasn't it?
City of Miami Stadium was the odd one out. They named it New Miami Stadium in 2016. The stadium had been around for 30 years, and they called it New Miami Stadium. Fun fact as well, they called it Dolphin Stadium and then changed the name to Dolphins Stadium. Why? I have no idea. So the score is 3-2, and we're up to the last question now. This is to seal the win for me. Let us know how you're doing at home. I hope you're doing a good job, and I hope you were able to answer it quicker than we were for a couple of those questions.
Yeah, maybe the podcast questions. I just didn't think about that. I mean, looking at it now, I'm like, that was such an easy question, but yeah, anyway. Maybe I gave you more time to answer, which is probably a good thing as well.
Yeah.
So,
all right, so your last question.
my last question for you is, what do you call it when a bowler, so bowling here, makes 3 strikes in a row?
3 strikes.
3 strikes in a row. So this is probably going to be a question that either you know or you don't. So
3 strikes. Do you mean like
3 strikes in a row?
Oh, sorry. I was thinking bowler is in cricket.
No,
And I was
no,
like,
no.
what do you mean strikes? I thought you bowled him out.
That's what I said.
'Cause I was going to say hat trick, but it is a turkey.
That's right. Yes.
All right, 4-2 is the score. One more for a bit of fun at the end. Who won the Clive Churchill Medal in the West Tigers 2005 Premiership win?
I'll give you a bit of time. I think I know the answer to this one.
All right. Well, just to let
TikTok.
everyone know, the West Tigers are I think they're the only team that we have in common as our teams.
I think so too, actually.
Yeah, so the West Tigers we're both fans of, so I thought might be a nice one at the end to share in our Tigers fandom. So who is the 2005 Clive Churchill winner?
It was Scott Prince.
It was indeed. So a pretty good game, all things considered. Pretty close in the end, 4-3. Let us know how you did at the end. So our podcast score, I guess, was 7. So if you did better than 7, let us know in the comments on one of the social media posts. But I think now it's time to talk about Baltimore.
Yeah, look, we might refine that up a little bit.
Yeah.
Do it again next week.
Let us know if you like that segment, because that was an idea we sort of had just on the fly today of something fun we might do. Let us know if you liked it.
We probably should have a time limit as well. Maybe 10 seconds so I don't take 15 seconds to answer the easiest question. But anyway, that's all right.
All right. Well, do you want to take us through Baltimore, Ol?
Yeah, so Baltimore is also known as Charm City, and it's a major city in the state of Maryland. It has a population of 650,000 people, and it's famous for being the birthplace for the United States national anthem, and with that comes the Star-Spangled Banner House. Importantly for you, it's also home to the Baltimore Orioles in the MLB.
Sure is.
And Baltimore Ravens in the NFL.
Yep, so it's one of those cities that only has the 2 major sports teams, and you see a lot of those around. It is still a major city in America. And yes, like you said, my Baltimore Orioles are my favorite team, and it's because I went on a trip to Baltimore.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that trip. You said 10 years ago, is that right?
Yeah, it was about 10 years, almost. It's going to be 11 in, I believe, April. I think we went in April. But yeah, it was a great trip. Obviously, it's not NFL season, so I didn't go see a Ravens game, but I did see an Orioles game. I went on the tour of the stadium, visited the team shop, did all the things, and I just absolutely fell in love with the team. And have been a fan ever since. And it's a hard sport to follow in Australia, so I watch them whenever they're on TV, and I've followed, especially their playoff runs are very heavily promoted and shown in Australia. So I've caught the limited playoff runs they've been in since I've been a fan. But yeah, it's they're my team.
So what was your experience like at the stadium?
It's still hard to remember now. I was so young, but it was fantastic. I remember first going in, and they've got so the stadium was built next to this old warehouse.
Okay.
And the warehouse is actually built into the facade of the stadium. So the warehouse now is their team offices. And it goes a great view of the stadium. They've actually had to make on the warehouse. They've made the glass has to be with able to withstand the strike of a baseball.
Okay.
Because it is that close to the ground. Now,
yeah, wow.
They've got like a little street in between as well. It's shut off so that only people who are going to the game can go in that street. But there's a little street as well. And one of the things they do is they anytime a ball is hit into the street, they mark it with a little plaque on the street. So they'll cut out a little circle on the street and put a little plaque with all the details of the home run, because it's a pretty hard home run to hit all the way onto the street.
Yeah, yeah.
And for because a lot of people are right-handed, to hit right-handed and get it to go far enough and across, because it's on the right-hand side of the stadium in the home run area.
Right.
To get a ball to go right-handed across that far to the right is a hard thing to do. So there's a lot of them there because they've been around for a while. But yeah, it's fantastic to just even see those little pieces of history across it. I love baseball stadiums because they're so different. Each baseball stadium you go to is so different. It's entrenched in its own history. Yeah, that's one of the major reasons why I sort of love the baseball tours, and I recommend any baseball tour is one worthwhile to go on.
Yeah, for sure. And they do that at Wrigley Field as well, down the side street. Pretty much exactly the same thing. So I think it's a bit of a baseball tradition. And a lot of people that sit sort of on those bleachers. I mean, a lot of baseball stadiums seem to have that surrounding areas are sort of ingrained in the culture of baseball, whether it be streets or like you see those pop up, what do you call them, bleachers or at Wrigley Field, and
Yeah.
there's lots of, so it's really cool that you mentioned those surrounding sort of areas. So
And I think because the dimensions of a baseball field, they are allowed to be flexible with it. So they don't have to have a standard size. They can be a bit flexible with the distances in certain areas and the heights. Like you see the Green Monster in Fenway in Boston. They can be a bit flexible with how the stadium's constructed, which is why they're so unique and why it's good to visit different ballparks around. Like, you're never going to see the same game in two different stadiums. Like, it's always a different vibe. It's a different feel.
Yeah. So, in terms of stuff you did there, so tours, games, what was the most memorable part of your trip?
I think it's hard to, because we did it all on the one day.
Okay.
We just basically, this is the Baltimore Orioles day of our trip. And I wasn't a fan before I went there. It was just we're going to Baltimore. This is a cool thing to do. But yeah, so we did the tour in the sort of middle of the day. We visited the team store beforehand and got all decked out in Orioles gear. We sort of just decided this is going to be our team. We're gonna support this team. So we were decked out in Orioles gear. Did the stadium tour. Saw all the sights. Saw the dugouts. Saw the change rooms and everything. And it was so cool to see. And just the different views from all around, like going in the press box. Yeah, definitely recommend the stadium tour. I've done a few different baseball stadiums now, and they're all very worthwhile. Just hearing the history as well, hearing it all explained, was fantastic and was something to, it sort of got you prepped for the game. And then we saw that it was a night game, and we had really great seats. We were at the top row behind home plate, but we were the first row of top row, so we had a completely unobstructed view of the game, and it was great. It was, definitely a memorable night. A memorable experience.
And why Baltimore? Because Baltimore's not really that city. I mean, a lot of people probably don't even understand Baltimore. I mean, it's one of those sort of smaller, bigger cities. But why did your parents choose to go to Baltimore in the first place? Do you remember?
I think because we were sort of doing a road trip of the eastern cities.
Okay.
And it was sort of something to do in between Washington and some of the other, and Philadelphia. I could think we went either Washington to Philadelphia or Philadelphia to Washington. I know we flew into Maryland. I can't remember the exact order. It was a long time ago, but it's just another one of those cities with its own vibe, its own distinct culture. It's right on the water there, so it's got its own vibe that's really unique. And the baseball tickets were cheap.
Yeah, of course. So I've got not so much a question here, but sell it for me. I want to know a little bit about its food and sort of not so much. It's not tailgating so much, but the surrounding atmosphere of the baseball game there. Why I should go to Baltimore to see an Orioles game. Not so much everything surrounding it, but just I want to know a little bit about the food, the drink, the setup. I just want to know why should I pick Baltimore if I'm going to watch an MLB over other teams.
Yeah, the food we had, I think, was just your stereotypical ballpark food. Had a hot dog and a drink, and it was perfect to have. In terms of the vibe, it was incredible. People would like walk the street, like I forget the name of the street, but they'd walk the street in between the warehouse and the stadium before the game. You chat to fans. It was a real vibe, especially being a night game. Everyone was sort of, by the afternoon, they're all in town ready to go for it. So there was a vibe and atmosphere would build. And obviously, being such a young age, I wasn't able to experience a lot of the things that we could as adults. But it was incredible. And I think that the vibe would be there for a lot of other different baseball grounds. I don't think that you definitely need to see specifically an Orioles game. Please don't be an Orioles fan. They're not very good. But I think that the vibe of baseball is that it's the working class sort of sport. Anyone can afford a game. Anyone can go at any time. It's one of those things. It's almost like going to the movies. It's like, hey, the Orioles are playing tonight. You want to go? Like, it's not something you have to plan so far in advance. So I would definitely say, if you're going somewhere in baseball season, see what you're feeling. There'll always be tickets available. There'll always be tickets cheap. See how you're feeling. See where you want to go. if you're in the town for the day, go to a game.
Yeah, cool. And the reason why I sort of mentioned that is, as you mentioned there, Baltimore are probably known. I think there was actually an article that came out and said they're the worst team of the last millennium, and
the most I know what article you're talking about. The most depressing team of the millennium so far.
And that's saying something with the New York Knicks and a few other American franchises around.
The Carlton Blues,
mate. Well, they're not American to begin with, and secondly, it's all right.
I'm taking my cheap shots because this is your cheap shot time.
30 years is still relevant enough. If we're going to talk about all right. Well, quickly, if we're going to talk about the worst franchise in Australia, it's got to be the St Kilda Saints, in my opinion. But historically, but yeah. So why are the Baltimore Orioles such a bad franchise, do you think?
There's lots of reasons. I think payroll is a big one. If you've watched Moneyball, you would realize the difficulty that teams have in baseball because there isn't a salary cap, because it is it's a money-driven sport, very similar to European soccer leagues where the small clubs, even if they grow their own talent, even if they can fight and claw all they like, but players will always chase the money because it is a business, and I don't blame players for doing so. But it makes it hard for the small clubs. So the Baltimore Orioles, in the article that I saw, which is from 2019, are 28th in payroll.
Yeah.
So they're out of 30 teams. So they don't spend. They're unlucky when they do make the playoffs. They're unlucky. They've had some issues with their star players. I know Chris Davis was one of their popular players when they last made the playoffs. Was PEDs. So they've just bad luck, not spending, not making good sound decisions, and I think that's put them where they are. But our farm system is looking good at the moment, and hopefully we can start to bring some of those talented players through, and hopefully start to achieve in the future.
From my perspective, I think it comes to when you think about like basketball and a few other different sports, and the one thing that I note about baseball is that they sign like 10-year contracts. So for a team to go out and get a big star, they're going to have to sign them to a huge deal worth a lot of money, which they don't already have. But then also, all of those stars on the market, they don't come up every year or two like the NBA. It's like
exactly
these guys are tied down for 10 years and they're going to earn their $300 million for 10 years or whatever astonishing amount it is. But that just limits a rebuild, that you've got to do it with your homegrown talent. And then if your homegrown talent's getting traded or they sign with another team, then it's just a continual process. So
because we've had some talent come through the team over past years, but like you said, they go other places because there's the money there, and then they get tied down to those contracts, and you can't get good players back in, so you've got to do the best with what you got, and some teams are good and some teams aren't, unfortunately.
Yeah, of course. And what better way to learn about some of Baltimore's teams, the Orioles and the Ravens, there to talk about our icons, so some of the best players from each of those sports.
Yeah, so our icon segment is one of our favourite to do each week, where we talk a bit about some of the famous athletes who've played in a city and decide who's the most influential and most iconic. So starting with Johnny Unitas.
Johnny Football.
Considered one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
The first Johnny Football.
Yeah, arguably the greatest quarterback before the Super Bowl era. He played for the Baltimore Colts, led them to many championships, and just all-round great football player.
Yeah, look, he's super old. 1955, 1956 to 1972, he played at the Baltimore Colts, as they were known. But looking at his statistics, I mean, doing this, you start to appreciate statistics a bit more, because we've got to find little niches for each player. But he was a 3-time NFL champion, a 3-time MVP, and a 5-time All-Pro. So huge honours there for Johnny Football.
Yeah, for sure. Our second finalist is Ed Reed. So he's a famous safety for the Baltimore Ravens. One of the hardest hitting players I've ever seen play. He would end careers with how hard he'd hit. The only player I think I've seen that's close would be Cam Chancellor. But Ed Reed was just a fantastic safety, hunting players across the middle.
Yeah, and I think he basically invented that ball hawk thing, like teased the quarterback into throwing it in a certain spot, and there he pops up out of nowhere and gets the interception. One of the greatest safeties of all time. Pretty prolific with that Ravens organization. Did play for a couple of other teams, but also Miami Hurricanes, one of your boys, one of your college team as well.
Yeah, for sure. I do like the U. The last one is Adam Jones. Now, Adam Jones, he's the Baltimore Orioles player I have the jersey of. One of my favorite Orioles of all time. He played for the Orioles for a very long time too. I think it was 11 seasons with the Orioles. Had a fantastic run there. And one of my favorite players. He was one of the leaders in that in the clubhouse for a very long time, and someone that I wanted to give a quick shout out to. But I think that takes us into our two nominees. So if you've seen our socials, you know who our two nominees are. Do you want to take us through Ray Lewis?
Yeah, so Ray Lewis is a pretty influential player for the Baltimore Ravens. He won 2 Super Bowl championships and was a Super Bowl MVP. He was a 2-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, a 7-time All-Pro, 13-time Pro Bowler, had the most tackles in a season 3 times on that all-decade team, 100th anniversary team. Basically had a lot of different honors to go with that as well.
He also holds the NFL records for the most career combined tackles, the most career solo tackles, and the most solo tackles in a season. So he was just, as a linebacker, he was just flying over the field, getting involved in everything. There was no getting past Ray Lewis.
The brick wall. Brick wall.
Sure was. And he had those 2 Super Bowls, obviously, sort of bookends of his career. He had one at the start in 2000. I mean, he started in 96, but 2000, he won the Super Bowl, so pretty early on in his career, and one of the greatest defenses of all time in the NFL, and then had the Super Bowl win in the final season of his career, winning Super Bowl 47 against the Niners.
Yeah, and we already talked about Ed Reed, but that combo was pretty deadly.
But he would stop the run, Ed Reed would stop the pass. There was no getting past those Ravens. And now our other nominee for the Icon of Baltimore is Cal Ripken Jr. So Cal Ripken Jr. was a very famous, one of the greatest baseball players of all time. He played, he was Maryland born and raised. He played 21 seasons for Baltimore. So that's incredible. I mean, Tom Brady has sort of set our expectations for how long athletes can play. But
crazy.
The fact that Cal Ripken was close to that is a testament to him being the Iron Man of baseball, is what he was called. Now, the reason why he was the Iron Man of baseball, he broke the record and has set the record so far that no one, I don't think, can ever achieve it. The most consecutive games played. So he broke the record at 2,131. And that moment where he broke the record was voted by fans as the most memorable Major League Baseball moment of all time.
Wow. And
in a sport that's been around for that long, that is incredible.
With baseball, is resting a big thing? Because I know they play like huge amounts of games during a year. Is resting like a huge thing?
Over 150 games a year.
Yeah.
So the fact that he could do that for that long, that's basically his whole career. He ended up with 2,632 consecutive games. Absolutely incredible that he was able to be the Iron Man for so long. He was always out there for the O's. He never missed a start for so long. In fact, the reason he actually broke the streak was he decided to end it. He decided to sit the game out to end the streak, to go, all right, that's enough. Like, it was the last game of the season. He just thought, I'm just going to end this streak, take the pressure off, and then continue the rest of his career. One of the greatest players in baseball history, 2-time American League MVP. He was also a World Series champion in 1983, 19-time All-Star. He was just absolutely incredible throughout his whole run. He was very consistent. And 2,632 games without missing one.
What do you say? Like, that's just pure durability to be able to play that many games in a row. Like, God, I can't even fathom that really. Like that is so many years and so many different games. That's travel. That's putting in the work every night. And even if you have 3 or 4 hits a game, that's still, everyone, professional athletes, they prepare for every game. So
Yeah.
even the preparation of, putting in all that work and then going out there, whether you even hit the ball once or twice in the whole game or you're at shortstop for a certain amount of time, like that's just huge to be able to do that. But yeah, look, I'm not a huge MLB fan, but he's certainly a name that resonates with baseball and with that Hall of Fame, which he was selected to in 2007. And actually the 6th highest election percentage ever. And we know baseball is a very historic sport, so that's a big stat as well.
Yeah, and I think his impact has actually resonated with our fans, as our fans voted him the Icon of Baltimore, and we decided he was too. So it was 75% Cal Ripken and 25% Ray Lewis for that vote this week. So we've got the top 5 Cal Ripken Jr. moments, and as a Baltimore Orioles fan, if you don't mind, I might go through these for you.
Let's do it.
So the number 5 moment, he was a 2-time All-Star Game MVP, and he had an incredible achievement in those games. He played incredible, scored iconic home runs in those games, and got those 2 All-Star Game MVPs.
What's your number 4 moment, my friend?
Number 4 moment, he was the 1991 MVP, and it was the first player to win the MVP award. So he was the AL MVP, sorry. It was the first player to win an MVP award when his team was below 500.
Wow.
They had only their wins were in the 60s that year, and that he won the MVP.
Yeah, that's pretty valuable.
It's pretty valuable.
What would they have been without him? 20 wins?
Oh, they one of the worst franchises in baseball.
Yeah, is that now?
Now, number 3, the most iconic moment was when he decided to end the streak. When it became apparent that he was ending the streak, he had to go out to the crowd to sort of acknowledge them twice because they wouldn't stop cheering, they wouldn't stop applauding one of the greatest achievements in baseball history, and it was absolutely incredible to see the ovation that he got for ending the streak and to celebrate the success he'd had for so long.
So, was it in the best interest of the team? Like, do you know why he sort of ended that streak? Was it just because they were spending more time putting effort into him when he was that older player, and they needed to give the youth a shot? Or?
I think that he was just that older player. He didn't want to put the pressure on the team to keep playing him if they needed to rest him for certain reasons, as his body was getting older. And I think it was sort of just that humble thing that he decided, look, it's time for me.
All right, give me the next moment.
Number 2 was the 1983 World Series win. So they won the World Series in 5 games. Absolutely incredible moment for the Orioles fans, and it was the last World Series that they've won.
Okay, what's our number 1 moment, H?
I think that anyone who is a baseball fan will agree that the consecutive game streak, voted the number 1 moment in baseball history, has to be our number 1 most iconic moment for Cal Ripken. So he broke the streak, like I mentioned before, 2,131 games. The crowd gave a 22-minute standing ovation.
Why 22 minutes? Is that just how long?
It was just how long it took for them to settle down.
That's ridiculous.
They were that animated, and while they didn't rush the field like a Buddy Franklin thing.
60-minute quarter for Buddy, but 22-minute ovation. I don't think I'd be clapping for that long.
Yeah, it was a long time that just they wouldn't calm down. It wasn't able to be settled down.
Was it at home?
It was at home.
Okay, that does help.
Yeah,
that does help.
It did help a lot. So, absolutely iconic moment. He sort of went around the field and went on a lap of honor sort of thing around the field. So it happened after the 5th inning. So once the game was confirmed to be a proper, because you have to start a certain amount of innings for it to be counted as a proper game. So that's the moment when they had that ovation. Once it was in the record books, he did play that game. That was the moment where they made that ovation. Jeez. Is
there anything else you wanted to talk about that streak? I think we've covered it in depth.
I think we've covered it in depth. I think it was just, it's one of those records that will never be broken. There is just too difficult to break. I think that's one of the most unbreakable records in sport.
Of course. And moving on to our mailbag now, and I think this question is perfect for you as a Dolphins fan. And Jack from Cameron Park asks, what are your thoughts on the Tyreek Hill trade, and what is the vibe as a Dolphins fan?
We go on to the Super Bowl. No, I'm excited about the trade. I think it's the first time we've had a genuine playmaker since probably Ricky Williams. But he's an exciting playmaker. Yes, he's older now, and we're probably going to see his decline of his career. Hopefully, we don't see that for 4 or 5 years. But an incredible player, an incredible talent. I did think we gave up a lot to get him, but knowing our
what did
front
he say?
office,
Stuff them picks, bro. Is that what he said? Stuff them picks,
I think
bro.
he used a more colourful word than that.
Yeah.
But I think that knowing our front office's track record, I don't think that they would have used those picks wisely anyway. So may as well trade him for a proven star.
That's exactly right. Get it done. Get the trade done. Get the best guy possible. Teams often make mistakes with picks, so I think get it done.
Yeah, I think that the only question now is Tua. We've put all these pieces around him. The Teron Armstead signing was huge for the Dolphins as well. I think it's Tua time or bust. And I think that with our 2 first-round picks next year, I think we're in prime position to go get ourselves a quarterback if it is bust. But hopefully it all works out. Hopefully Tua has the weapons he needs, and hopefully the Dolphins make the playoffs.
Go get yourself a Baker Mayfield. You could get him for buddy's 7th rounder at this rate.
I'll get him for $5 and a can of Coke, I reckon.
I'd nearly take that if I'm the Browns.
All right, next question. Daz from Sam, and it's a bit of a more serious question. Does the Ray Lewis incident affect his legacy? Now, the incident that he's referring to is the double murder trial in 2000. So, for those who don't know the story, after a Super Bowl party, after he was in Atlanta for a Super Bowl party, a Super Bowl 34 party.
Yep.
And afterwards, there was an incident. There was a altercation, and 2 men ended up dying because of it. Ray Lewis got a plea deal and pled guilty to a misdemeanor, but was able to be acquitted of the murder charges. But a lot of people still believe that he did do it and wasn't. The law didn't properly protect the victims, and the law didn't properly prosecute the guilty party. So
it's not as public and as controversial as the O.J. Simpson trial, but it's sort of like a bit, not so much a bit like that, but there's just a lot up in the air that people are able to speculate, like that white suit that he was wearing on the night had never been found, and there's so many different other circumstances that go into it, buying knives weeks before, and it's all a bit too not convenient that it all happened that way, and it wasn't just a spur of the moment incident, but nonetheless, he agreed to that plea agreement, and charges were sort of the murder charges at least were dismissed.
I guess the biggest thing was because he by the eyes of the law, he's been cleared of it. I think the court of public opinion, it's up to each individual person to
exactly. Yeah, I do think that.
I think decide how they feel about it, decide whether it affects his legacy. I don't think it's something that we can just say, yes, it does or no, it doesn't. I think it's up to you to decide if it affects his legacy in your eyes specifically. So if you're not aware of the case, get your eyes on it, search a bit on Google for it, because there's plenty of stuff out there on it. But I definitely think it's one that everyone has to make their own minds up. And I mean, he did end up playing the rest of his career out post that. It happened in 2000s. He won 2 Super Bowls and had all these accolades post the incident. So it's, yeah.
But if we're to take a holistic view on it, I think if we're to answer from the perspective of just a basic, does it affect his legacy from the opinion of the majority at this point, I'd probably say most people would say lean towards yes. Or at least yes, but to how much? I
was just about to say it's a degree question where it will always be carried with him, but it's how much you put on it personally. All right, next question. Joe from Newcastle asks, is there any point in attending an AFL game ever after Buddy's 1000th?
My answer to that is luckily for us, Joey, we were at that game, so we can sort of we can say no, but a lot of people weren't. So a few people will have to go and chase that. They might never ever see it again. So, but in terms of attending another game, I think I'll probably still attend a few other games, but probably won't get the same enjoyment out of it, mate.
What, Carlton in the MCG in last Saturday of September?
I've booked my flights, mate. I've booked my flights. I'm still waiting on the tickets to come through. I think they said they have to hold off on those, but I booked my flights. Jetstar got in early. Booked my flights in September to Melbourne.
This question is from Harrison from Newcastle. Does Carlton win the flag this year?
I don't see why not. No,
spoken like a true blue.
In all honesty, just hoping they make the 8. Yeah, I think we'll just start off with that. 2 wins is 2 wins. It's only 2 wins, so
it's been 2 impressive wins though.
It has. The lid's still on with me, so it's about to come off. They've got a very, very easy run coming up, and they face your Swans in round 10. And I think both teams, if like per predictions and how each team ranks against each other, both teams could end up 9-1 in a big clash. So that'd be pretty interesting for us.
That would be a big clash, and
let's see it happen.
I'd love to watch that game with you.
The lid would be off if they went 9-1. I'm telling you right now.
For sure. Next question, Peter from Wyong asks, "What's your most prized sports memorabilia?"
My one, I want to get an Aaron Rodgers or some sort of Packers signed memorabilia in the future, but one of mine, I mentioned it last week with the Barcelona jersey. That's a pretty cool one, but it comes with a bit of a story. I got a signed T-shirt from Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant.
Yep.
We were standing in the side of the tunnel, and we didn't have tickets there, and we sort of we'd waited there early, and the players didn't come past, and then the security went to shoo us off. So I threw the T-shirt to a young girl that was there. Younger, when I say young, probably 18, 19, was probably older than me at the time. But she was sitting there. She was like a season ticket holder, and I just said, "Can you try?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'll try for you." And got both of those autographs. So we gave the
awesome.
T-shirt back to me, and I sort of was just marveling in that, and we've still got it hanging up at home. So that would probably be mine. Signed Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant T-shirt.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mine is probably, I've got a Drew Brees New Orleans Saints helmet.
Okay.
Signed, and it's got the Super Bowl 44 champion inscription on it. So that's probably my most prized sports memorabilia that I've got.
Yeah, really good question.
Good
question, Pete. Thanks for that.
Next question. Luke from Missouri asks, "Who wins the MLB World Series?"
Ooh, the American connection there. I don't mind that. Missouri. Interesting. So I'm going to have to go with the Los Angeles Dodgers. They might have lost the NL West last year, but I don't think there's any doubt that they're the best team entering their division in the 2022 season. Their starting rotation is just pretty phenomenal. It's almost an all-star team. There's not really any disadvantages there, and with Freddie Freeman joining the mix, I'd say that they're probably undoubtedly the best team in the MLB. As I said, not a huge MLB fan, but I did look up on this question before because I didn't want to have no idea. But I'm going to go with the Dodgers here.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good picks this year. I think that the Yankees, though, it's been their time for a long time. They've got a very strong lineup, and I think they've been making some huge signings. I think it's their time. Yeah,
for sure. And those two big name teams, imagine those two in the World Series. That'd go off.
Incredible it would be. Well, that's it for our mailbag. And our final segment of the week is the lock of the week. Now, last week's locks, the Melbourne Demons did beat the Gold Coast Suns, and the Parramatta Eels upset the Melbourne Storm of yours, making the score 1-1 after 2 rounds.
What a finish in that Storm Eels game. Wowee.
We watched that while we went out on Saturday night, and it was incredible, the finish to that game. I was very excited to see the Eels get up in that game. Well,
you looked excited at the time. You just turned to me and went 1-1. Righto, mate. No worries.
Straight away. I don't think my team had played at that point either.
No, they hadn't.
Well, what's your lock for this week?
Brisbane to beat North Melbourne. I'm not going out on a limb here. I think you got a super easy one last week, so give me one.
Super easy? North Melbourne have played $8, mate.
When we're talking, how many times has the Gold Coast Suns won a big game in the last 10 years? You know what? North have beaten West Coast, the waffle team last week. So you know what? They've got a win on the board.
They're a strong team. They beat a bunch of kids.
Look, I'm just going to get the point here, and if I lose, I reckon I should almost get -1 for this. I'm not going to.
Is that a promise?
Oh, I don't know.
I think you almost need to pick this one.
Let's lock it in -1 if North beat Brisbane.
Done. Now, our locks don't always have to be game picks or picking a team over another team. Sometimes they can be individual players, and as a fan of the Swans and a fan of Isaac Heaney, I'm riding the Lightning. Heaney's going to kick 3 goals against Western Bulldogs.
Okay.
So he kicked 3 in round 1 against GWS. He kicked 5 on the weekend. Almost, if Buddy didn't kick that 1,000th goal, Heaney was the story of that game. But I reckon he kicks 3 against a very handy Bulldogs side, and I think if he does get those 3, that helps get the Swans over the line. I'm not going to pick the Swans to beat Bulldogs, but I think Heaney gets 3.
3 goals is a pretty big. I don't mind that. To be your lock, that's got some balls to it. And I'll tell you what, I'll take the -1. I don't mind that pick. I think that's a bit of a roughie, but at the same time, he has, as he said, he's kicked 3 goals 2 weeks in a row. So we could see it again.
And I think it'd be a nice little stamp to start his possibly his first ever All-Australian.
Someone might have tipped that at the start.
Someone might have. Maybe we should go back a few episodes and see who the clever cookie was. Well, that's it for our podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed the chat today, make sure you let us know on all the socials. Make sure you follow all the socials at Road Trip Sports Pod. You can find us on YouTube, Road Trip Sports Podcast. You can get in touch with us via email, roadtripsportspodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to get your feedback, especially we've been trying to introduce some new segments each week. So if there's a segment you like from this week or from a previous week that you want to see back, let us know, hit us up. We love to give you what you guys want, and we'd love for you to share us around a bit as well.
Yeah, of course. We'll continue to put out content that you guys love. We had a bit of I wouldn't say a moment off TikTok, but we had a bit of a lull period where we were a bit busy doing a few other things. So we're keen to get back into that. So if you got any TikTok suggestions or anything that you want to see, give us a yell and we'll chuck them on there.
For sure. Well, that's all for us. Thank you so much for listening. I've been Harrison Crook. This has been Oliver Gilmour. Thank you for listening. See you next time.
See ya.